Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is now just a little over 2 months away from its official release by Disney, Lucasfilm, George Lucas, and even, of course, J.J. Abrams. That is all sitting ready to end the sequel trilogy and the Skywalker saga itself. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, what's really exciting about Episode 9 is that we do know that this film, at the end of the day, is going to be a big movie with a lot of different twists and turns that'll change how we view the past 8 Star Wars movies. And to be quite honest with each and every one of you, the thing that really makes me more optimistic about this film is the fact that George Lucas is heavily involved with the rewriting process of the movie, of course, as well in the post-production phase of this particular film that he's actually very much involved with J.J. Abrams. Now, on top of all of this, a lot of fans have been wondering about Rey and Kylo Ren and exactly what's going on with those two characters in this specific story and exactly how the relationship is going to grow and exactly what George and JJ thought about all of that. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and a couple of months ago over at D23 back in August of this year is where J.J. Abrams was able to answer many of the burning questions about, of course, The Rise of Skywalker. And what's really intriguing about this is that it's explained that over at D23, when J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio were answering many questions related to The Rise of Skywalker and working with George Lucas, is that J.J. Abrams was able to answer one of the big questions that were asked by multiple correspondents about Reylo and how it was a challenge for George Lucas and J.J. to develop Kylo and Rey's relationship. J.J. states that George Lucas and his reaction to the relationship between Rey and Kylo Ren is to be very complicated and quite challenging to write once George was involved. J.J. states that though George did not agree with every approach he made with Rey and Kylo Ren's relationship and how it compares to Han and Leia's, is that still George was very well impressed with how it was generally handled, and that George believes fans will be very happy with how things end up being between both Rey and Kylo Ren. JJ also states that George had worked closely with JJ for the interactions between both Rey and Kylo, and that George expressed great enthusiasm of how rapid the relationship grows in unique ways that take different paths in this movie. So let's go over a couple of parts about this. Now, the thing about Reylo is this, is that it really seems like that there are 3 divisions within the Star Wars fans about the concept of Reylo. You have those who support the idea, those who completely despise the idea, and then in the middle you have fans who actually are not quite sure about how it's going to be used or how they really feel about Reylo. I fall in between. I'm not quite sure about how I really feel, you know, a Kylo Ren and Rey relationship full on in The Rise of Skywalker. Do I believe it's going to be to the extent of Han and Leia? Not necessarily, and it could very well fall directly in line with what JJ said, of how George did not agree with every approach that was taken for Kylo and Rey's relationship, but thought generally that it was handled very well by JJ. So that tells us that I think it's not going to be quite as romantic as Han and Leia's in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, but it's going to be some level of a romance in The Rise of Skywalker in different ways. In fact, Daisy Ridley talked today, I believe it was with Entertainment Weekly, or maybe even other, you know, marketing ways by Disney and Lucasfilm in order to get Daisy Ridley on board there to answer some of the burning questions. Today she was talking about how Reylo is going to be addressed by J.J. Abrams, and of course how it's going to be handled in the film is of course going to make a lot of fans happy. Now, to me, that does tell us different things about this movie. It tells us that there is something between both Rey and Kylo Ren. The Force is connecting them for a specific reason in The Last Jedi. That's also going to be explained in Episode 9. And JJ even stated that, you know, that big question in The Last Jedi, why are they connected, you know? That's going to be answered in Episode 9. So George Lucas, how he worked very closely with J.J. Abrams, the fact that he was very well impressed with how the relationship between these two actually grow in unique and different ways, but at the same exact time, George did not agree with every single approach of how Rey and Kylo's relationship are actually handled in this movie. Could very well indicate a couple of things here. It could indicate that maybe that they are being very careful with their relationship, because let's face it, Kylo Ren is a man who killed his own father in front of Rey and of course her friend Finn. You know, Chewbacca was there too, so the fact that Rey was able to witness such a horrific event happen before her very own eyes, I believe it would make it very hard for her to really fall in love with Kylo Ren. So I think that what they're trying to do here is that they're trying to create a middle line of a romance. They're trying to create something very, very unique, and it could very well fall directly in line with what Daisy Ridley said about The Rise of Skywalker. Is one of the big themes of this movie is that, is an apology ever enough? And that really is going to be a big part about this movie, and could very well hint toward Kylo Ren turning to the good side. But is it really going to be good enough for the actions that he did as Kylo Ren and as Supreme Leader Ren during the events of the sequel trilogy itself? So anyways guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.